Assalamu alaikum and welcome. This is the only way. So we're in 2026. The first 25 years of the century has gone by. So today we're going to talk about the top three trends or lessons or big events of the first 25 years. My top three, co-host top three. Let's go. What's your top three?
Thakum Shani. So, three issues I think that have shaped the first century of the 21st century. So, the first one was 9/11 and the subsequent American response. So, I'm sure everybody remembers where they were when the Twin Towers came down. It was a horrific event. It's interesting where we stand now, a quarter of a century on. Firstly, the mainstream view now about 9/11 is that the mainstream view is a conspiracy. Now people believe that the narrative we were given is a lie. It's a cover up. The mainstream view is what was considered a conspiracy at the time. So it's quite an interesting period we're in. Then, obviously, America's subsequent response, we saw two invasions, one of Afghanistan and Iraq. And just to remind everybody, they invaded Iraq, who had nothing to do with 9/11 because they had WMDs and they didn't find any WMDs. So they messed up a whole country. More importantly, America messed up its own credibility by lying about its invasion. And interestingly, if everyone believed America went in for oil, very few American companies got involved and are involved even today in Iraq's oil industry because it's not very profitable for them. So 9/11 and America's subsequent response just completely undermined America in every shape or form. Number two, the most important trend, which will probably be the most important trend for the remainder of the century, is the rise of China. This is a country, when I was born in 1979, China had 90% plus of its population in poverty. China was so poor that they would subsidize and freely give bicycles and fans. That's how poor they were. What we've seen is they made some significant changes and they've risen now as a power. They've sorted out their economy. They've gone from an economy that was really poor to now the second largest in the economy, and everybody's waiting for them to replace America. And actually, a lot of America's action in the world today are a result of trying to deal and push back against China. Obviously, we need to see for the remainder of this century what China does. Can China turn its economic strength into political strength? But China keeps American policymakers and American experts awake every night. If you look at Greenland, Trump keeps saying China and Russia. Every problem in the world, America keeps mentioning China. So that's probably the second most important trend. And the third one is the Arab Spring. In 2010 and 11, across the Arab world, people rose up to remove their rulers who didn't represent them. It started with someone's Muslim brother, Mohammed Bouazizi, self-immolating himself in Tunisia. It then quickly spread to Egypt, to Libya, to Syria, to the other Gulf countries, until it engulfed the whole region. And this shocked everybody. Interestingly, everybody felt this was going to happen eventually because the rulers didn't represent the people. Unfortunately, what we saw in the end is where the regimes were overthrown, they were really replaced by other people within their regimes. If you look at Yemen and Libya today, they are still in a civil war. So the issues that caused the Arab Spring, they are all still there, and in many places they're far worse. So although we are what now, 15 years on from the Arab Spring, the issues that led to the Arab Spring, they are still not resolved. So it's inevitable this will happen again. In fact, in Iran, where we're seeing protests, the protests, these current ones, initially started from the currency going through the roof and shopkeepers closing their shops because they couldn't afford it. Economics was the issue. And it's now engulfed into people calling for the regime to go. So across the region, these issues are still there. And if they're not resolved, which they probably won't be, we're going to see this play out again. So yeah, they're my three issues: the 9/11 American subsequent response, the rise of China, and the Arab Spring and the causes of it still being there.
So my top three would be not in any particular order, but the first one is the economics and finances of the world. Debt has risen to such a level, inflation, cost of living, affordability, whatever you call it, house prices, people are living paycheck to paycheck, payday loans, In the developing world, Muslim countries in Africa, South America, it's led to mass migration. Millions and millions of people are moving out every year. Why? Because the economics, the fiat currencies, the exchange rates have brought misery on everyone across the world. People are working as hard as they ever have been. They've been studying as hard as they ever have been, and yet people can't make it work. So the finances of the world, a husband and wife could raise a family on one income, and now you need three incomes, and you have to reduce the number of children. The whole debate across the whole world is in the developing and Muslim countries is how do we cut the subsidies? We're going to cut the subsidies. Can people handle it? Fuel prices going up, staple food prices going up, and in the Western world, it's a case of raising taxes and simultaneously cutting services. So the impact of finances is and money and distribution of wealth is having a big impact on people every day and everyone's life, despite the fact that we're living in a time where the amount of wealth in the world is at its highest level. The stocks, shares, the companies are through the roof. The number of billionaires is through the roof. The number of multimillionaires is through the roof. Yet there's poverty all around us. So I think that's been the number one change, one of the top three significant changes for the first 25 years. Number two, I'm going to go for the end of the family. What do I mean by that? Uh, the hypersexualized society, the loss of the meaning of marriage, the value of marriage, the value and want to stay together, the delay in marriage, the delay in starting family, the delay in having children, and having the society work and geared around that has just collapsed across the world. Divorce rates are through the roof. Body count is high. And this, came out in Me Too. This came out in this feeling against the woke culture. But across the globe, when you look at it, and it's now coming to a head where birth rates are lower than death rates. Birth rates have collapsed in Europe, in America, in the rest of the world. They're decreasing significantly. And what was a norm, i.e., people getting married and having a long marriage, is starting to become less and less, unfortunately. And I think this had a big social effect. Children are growing up with either a mum or a dad, and not both. The construct of the family, the terms used in the family, have all changed. And so I think that's having a negative effect across the globe. And number three is a big change, I would say, is the decline of the moral high ground of the West. Uh, After USSR collapsed, America was the leading superpower. The global world order, the transatlantic alliances, the institutions were seen as a beacon that we're gonna run the world. We've got good values, good morals. We will build hospitals. We will treat malaria. We will treat polio. We will treat illnesses and help countries develop. We will give them loans. We will give them access. We'll give them markets, and they'll be integrated and they'll all prosper. Uh, I think 9/11, Iraq, Afghanistan, Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo Bay, um, the MP's expenses scandal, Panama Papers, the 1%, the growth of the tech bros, the inflation, the cost of living, the COVID scams, um, the Me Too, the George Floyds have all shown actually the moral high ground of the West has collapsed. It says it's going to solve problems, it doesn't solve problems. It says it's going to help, it doesn't help. It says at least it's going to lead to change, but it doesn't lead to any positive change. What we saw and I think it was the peak of this falling of this moral high ground was Gaza, in terms of the brutality, in terms of the killing, in terms of the imagery in terms of the innocent children, and the debate was, oh, why are you calling this a genocide? Oh my gosh, how can this even be the discussion of the day? So I think these the three things issues for me. There are other more issues, but these three really have seen a big change in the last 25 years. And if you've got any other what you think is your top three, leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Jazakallah khair for listening, and assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.